And we're live. Okay.
Ooh, wow. Hi, everybody.
Okay, hello, everyone. Welcome. We are here at Freedom Families Thrive Hub this evening, and I'm delighted to welcome you all here. You can join us in Zoom if you'd like to ask some questions at the end of this session, and obviously we will indicate when that is. But I'm really delighted to welcome both Lucy Pook, or as she's known as Lucy DeAngelis on Facebook, as like we've all got our, our alter egos. Mine is Star Sovereign, as many of you probably already know, but my real name is Karen Richardson. And we've got our lovely Emma Goodwin as well. And we just thought, in the current climate, I think in these last 2 years, we've all realized we've been conned big time when it comes to our health and the truth. What is actual real health? What creates disease? We've found out that big pharma does really not have our interests at heart at all, and that actually benefit from our disease and our sickness. So really want to bring these two amazing ladies to the table, because they have so much wisdom to share as to what the real cause of disease is, and how we can improve our health quite radically just from what we eat, supplements, and just understanding what sickness is. Because when we understand it better, we can move with it, as opposed to trying to resist and stop the natural flows of our body. So without any further ado, I'm going to start with Lucy. I've followed Lucy. As I say, I've connected with both these two ladies in the last 2 years, and I love their material, and that's why we wanted to bring them to you today. So Lucy, if you wouldn't mind just bringing a little bit of information about yourself, where you have got most of your wisdom from, what took you on this journey. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Well, basically, I was always ill. In my 20s and 30s, I was suffering from migraines, suffering from asthma, and also a little bit of chronic fatigue and irritable bowel syndrome. And my stomach would bloat so much that I would almost look like I was 6 months pregnant. And I would go to the doctors to try and, ask for help, look for some answers, and they would just send me away. So I started thinking, well, maybe it's something to do with what I'm eating. I started to look into diet. And then I trained with someone called Barbara Wren, who's written a couple of books. The first one is Cellular Awakening. And I trained with her in 1999. And the first day I walked into her lecture was the first day I really understood my body on a deep cellular level, because she talks about the cell. The cells are the building blocks of the human body, a bit like the bricks in a house. So when the cell is working well, then the rest of the body is going to function. And it's all to do with hydration. It's all to do with water. It's all to do with reducing stress. It's all to do with balancing the electrolytes. When we get that right, everything else will fall into place. And the trouble with modern nutrition, and the reason that it's become so confusing for everybody, is modern nutrition is all about, throw this supplement at the body, this is the latest superfood, not looking at the body holistically. And as a naturopath, as a naturopathic nutritionist, and what I was taught on Barbara's course is that she brought it all together. She was able to teach us to look at the body completely holistically, that without water, without essential fats, which I talk about a lot, these two important substances are like the spark plugs for the human body, and without those two, nothing else is going to work. So she put it all together, and she also realized that we're not separate from nature. We're part of nature, and we're affected by the moon cycles, by the equinoxes, that we need to listen to our ancestors and how they looked at health and how they treated their bodies, and how that was all lost or almost lost in the witch hunts. And so she brought it all back and connected all the dots. And since then, just I've been flying with it, and my health has improved 100-fold. So thank you, Barbara Wren. So I'm just promoting her knowledge as well as what I've learned through treating clients over the last 20 years. And I'm in the middle of finishing my book, Natural Born Healer, which will be showing the world more of her work and my work.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, Lucy. I've made note that, because I think it's next month. Is that coming out?
I hope so. Yeah, I'm just going through the proofreading at the moment. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Emma, please do give us an intro into your journey into this.
Thanks so much, Star. I'm going to call you Star because I just love that. Star Sovereign. It's always so inspirational when I see that. And lovely to see you, Lucy. I always love posts. You know, I fly and really get so excited when I get stimulated by you guys. So yeah, my name's Emma Goodwin. I am a GAPS coach. GAPS stands for Gut and Psychology Syndrome. And it was developed by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride when her own son was vaccine damaged 20 years ago, over 20 years ago, and he became autistic. She used the wisdom of her ancestral heritage, because she's a Russian, to develop a way of eating that would heal his gut of the leaky gut, get rid of the toxicity, bring him back to fully functioning, which she has. And so she had a clinic in London and she was treating parents with autistic children. And as the children were healing, so were the parents healing of their migraines and arthritis and, you know, these debilitating chronic autoimmune diseases and inflammatory diseases. So yeah, my daughters, I have two daughters, and when I was pregnant with them, I was not very well. I had symphysis pubis dysfunction. Mine blew up like the size of an elephant, water retention, terrible pain. Luckily, I still managed to have 2 home water births, which I am so grateful for. But we were just sickly, and always ill. Ear infections, bedwetting, snotty noses endlessly. I was exhausted, finished by 4 o'clock every afternoon. Just chronic fatigue and depressed, anxious, angry. The household was just a mess. Everyone was upset and in a mess, sad, down, no energy, ill, endlessly ill. And then I found Dr. Natasha's book, GAPS, and I read it and I just cried. I was just like, it all makes sense. The bedwetting, the UTIs, the ear infections, the depression, it was like, it's gut health. It is gut health. So I kind of tried to do it by the book. And, you know, I was one of those mothers at the school gate that's quite a lot of the other mothers would kind of see me coming and kind of go, oh my God, there's that woman again. You know, because they'd be saying, can Billy come and play? I'd be like, yeah, Billy'd love to come and play. Sorry, my light's just fallen down. Billy would love to come and play, but she can't have any grains or bread or cereals or pizza or crackers or anything like that, please. You know, rather than saying what she could have, of course. But so that made life pretty difficult. And anyway, I tried to do it by the book, and all the time I was struggling to do it by the book. And I vowed, as I was trying to do it by the book 15 years ago, I'm going to make this so easy for people. And so I have created a GAPS app, and I teach people online about how to heal the gut using the food as the medicine. That's basically, and we're all bonny, rosy-cheeked, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. The kids have got fantastic energy. Went out to Zoo Studios on Saturday night before Mother's Day, and me and my 2 teens hit the dance floor and just danced all night till 1 o'clock in the morning. It was so much fun. Yeah, no complaints really now.
That's fantastic, Emma. And I think what's really interesting with the 2 of you is that you've obviously taken very different paths to your learning, your wisdom, and you've kind of drawn very similar conclusions as to what actually creates health. And I'm sure you've got the same conclusions as to what actually causes disease as well. You know, was there kind of a pivotal moment for either of you where just everything clicked and you thought, I get it now? And is there some kind of basic overview that you can say, right, well, this is what causes disease. This is what's going to heal it. And you know, you can embellish this as much as you like.
I'll let Lucy give the meat on this, but my perspective on it is there is no disease. You can call the disease any name under the sun you like, and it's sometimes useful to have a diagnosis so that you can try and find other people who have a similar diagnosis. But there is no disease. There's only toxicity and deficiency. So you've either got too much of something and you're poisonous with it, or you haven't got enough of something and you're deficient with it. So we need to nourish so we don't be deficient, and we need to cleanse so we get rid of the toxicity. Might be a bit more complicated than that, but that is basically it. Clean water, good food, enough rest, stress-free, and you need to have a mission. You need to go, I'm going to do that thing. You need to have that feeling of you want to be doing something, you know what I mean? That really, really helps. That's it, basically. Go, Lucy. Yeah, you're muted.
Hang on. I can't unmute you, Lucy. There we go.
I would agree. It's very interesting with Natasha Campbell McBride, because my teacher also made the gut connection to brain health as well. And this all harks back to Chinese medicine, which connects every organ in the body to an emotion, and the gut in Chinese medicine is connected to the mind. So when you work on healing the gut, you actually heal the mind. And this is the thing with autism. Autism is very interesting that anyone who has autism, they normally have a gut bowel disorder that they're struggling with. You work on removing gluten, grain, which blocks the uptake of essential fatty acids, which actually are the spark plugs for the human brain to work. And you're removing stress to allow the gut to start working properly, for the bowels to work, because we live in a world where I'm treating clients whose bowels aren't working properly, hundreds of clients. And our bowels are meant to be clean, just like animals. You know, when you take the dog out, you don't need toilet roll, do you? And when I'm working with clients, when you see the transformation of just simply their bowels changing, where, sorry, I'm going to be a bit graphic, everyone, where you wipe and there's nothing there, it's clean, then you know you're on your way, because it's a little bit like when you've got a bath full of dirty water. You can't clean the bath until you pull the plug out and remove the dirty water, yeah? And when you pull the plug out, which is like the bowels, the top of the bath clears first. So when you start to pull the plug to release the bowels and cleanse the waste that should be coming out via the main route, which is your bowels, then the mind starts to clear, just like that bath. The top of the body will start to clear first, and then you will feel motivated, you will feel energized, you will start to feel completely different, just simply from drinking water and removing gluten. And like Emma says, it doesn't have to be complicated. Modern nutrition has become so, it's mind-boggling for people, and it doesn't have to be. It can be simple. It doesn't have to be hard work to be well and maintain wellness.
I totally agree with you there, Lucy, except that the industrial food system has managed to kind of get us hooked like addicts on these creations that are not really food. They're food-like products, and they're food-like products, and they are literally, they manufacture them in a sort of formula. They have these scientists who are all about the taste, and they get the fats with enough salt, with enough sugar, with enough this to kind of make it so that it's totally irresistible, and that people literally get hooked on stuff. So we're dealing with actually a lot of addicts.
Oh yeah,
addict. I was a sugar addict without a shadow of a doubt. But once you can kick the addiction, that's the difficult part. But once you can kick the addiction, suddenly life starts to look like a totally different place. But
you can do that with fat, by encouraging it, because fat has become a dirty word in modern society.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm doing when I'm working with my clients, is encouraging people to eat more fat, because when we don't eat enough fat, we're not satiated. And when we're not satiated, we're going to reach for the heroin, which is the carbs, the sugar. But when we're eating more butter and avocados and olives and eggs and fatty meats, then we're going to be so satiated, just like our ancestors, that we're not going to be wanting to put food in our mouths every 2 hours.
We make this lovely stuff, I call it fat bomb frosting, and we mix 50-50 butter or ghee with coconut oil.
Lovely.
Raw egg yolks and some raw honey. And if you really whip it up, you know, you can actually pipe it onto the top of little cupcakes if you want to, but I just keep mine in a jar and you know, have mouthfuls whenever I feel like it. And we also mix date paste. We make dates, we cook them up in water and then mix them with good fats. And tallow, lard, goose fat, all of those animal fat. Get it down you in quantity, especially when you're trying to get off the carbs.
Yeah. Because we've been told that we've got to eat all these vegetable oils, which are actually seed oils, which when heated to a high temperature they become a trans fat, which damages our endocrine system, damages our thyroid, and then that affects our metabolic rate, and then the weight goes up. And
so that's one thing people can do immediately, isn't it? Just ditch any vegetable oils in the house. Ditch them. Good for polishing cricket bats, right? But that's about it. Don't bother with vegetable oils, except cold pressed extra virgin olive oil, perhaps drizzled on a salad or drizzled on the meal once you've already cooked it in saturated fat. Dr. Natasha's got a great book called Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, which is all about atherosclerosis and the hardening of the arteries, and the myth that Ansel Keys sold us when he said, with one little study that's actually been disproven since, he concluded that saturated fat caused heart disease. And that is the story, the narrative we've been fed ever since the 1940s.
Yes, the lie.
Totally
the lie.
Big, massive whopper.
It's actually sugar that causes heart disease, because sugar causes the body to become acidic. And then as a result, as the body is always working for us, it will create plaque in order to heal and work on the acidity, and it's the plaque that starts to block our arteries. So it's actually sugar that is the culprit for heart disease. It's got nothing to do with fat, unless it's a trans fat such as margarine, which is like, for example, fluoromargarine in its liquid form. It's sunflower oil, that's fine, but as soon as you boil it, degum it, deodorize it and dye it yellow, it becomes one chemical difference between the plastic it contains. And we're being fed that, and it's in all our food, all our processed foods. And that is the chemical shitstorm, isn't it, Emma? That we're being,
even think to yourself, well, I just exactly. I'll just, you say, I'll just have a bag of crisps. That's all right, a bag of crisps. It's only potatoes and sunflower oil. Oops, no, you don't want that sunflower oil in you. You really don't.
No,
it's not going to do you any favors. And the potatoes quite high in oxalates. And I've been discovering so much about plant toxins lately. It's blown my mind. You know, all of these, I deal with a lot of vegans. I don't know about you, Lucy, but I get loads of ex-vegans going, please help me, I'm dying. You know, and it's like, whoa, okay, slowly, we need to reintroduce just a bit of stock, a little bit of fats, just get your body used to it. Again, it's not going to happen overnight, slowly. But they nearly kill themselves with green smoothies.
Well, this is what I did. This is what I did, Emma.
Milk.
Yeah, this is what I did, Emma. I spent 12 years eating greens, because I didn't eat red meat for 30 years. I became a vegetarian when I was 17.
Wow.
Because I think for a moral issue and what I thought was a health issue. So I've been plant-based. I've been there and done it and bought the T-shirt. I then became, after 10 years, a pescatarian, but I didn't want to eat red meat. And then I hit the menopause and got severely anemic. And my daughter and my mum begged me to eat meat. I didn't want to eat red meat, and I didn't go near it. I had an iron infusion. Then I discovered somebody called Dr. Vonderplanets, who also had been an ex-vegan, fruitarian, vegetarian. He kept hanging out with the tribes. The tribes kept saying to him, eat meat, eat meat, eat meat. He did it and he thrived. And it's the same with me. I now thrive. And it's a kind of madness to deny your body what it basically needs. And it's also a bit of an arrogance with modern scientists and nutritionists and health researchers, that we're ignoring what our ancestors and we're ignoring what the tribes thrive on. They don't live on bananas and greens. They live on meat and fat and butter and eggs. You know, it's an absolute denial, a lie about what we're meant to eat. And
what I've struggled with is watching these documentaries, and the entertainment industry have put out a lot of propaganda showing horrific scenes of abattoirs and things, which are truly disturbing.
They need to go.
Shocking horror. But remember, the entertainment industry is there to program us and to tell us stories, right? So I've kept my own animals. I've killed my own pigs, right? And I'm not saying everyone has access to that kind of thing, but having been there and done it, I know that it's okay for us to work with the animals as co-workers on the land, and that we honor them and by eating nose to tail, and we find real farmers who are practicing regenerative agriculture, who are loving the land, loving their animals, building soil, strengthening the web of life, and then we support them on their journey by investing and buying from them direct, cut out the middleman, try to get away from the supermarket.
That's it.
And we find meat, and you don't need very much. And you don't need very much. I just got in, I've been driving all day, I'm exhausted, I've got half an hour. That's why I was a tiny bit late. I thought, I've got to eat something before I sit down. I had 2 rashers of bacon, skinny little rashers of streaky, with half a chicken liver, tiny little piece like that, and an egg fried in butter. It was a tiny little plateful. It wasn't a big dinner plateful, but that was perfect for me. I'm a middle-aged woman. I don't need a great deal of whatever, but that was it. Now I've got plenty of energy and buzzing. There was a time when I've seen lots of vegans, ex-vegetarians, they eat, they feel like falling asleep immediately. Just wipes them out. They eat them, they're yawning immediately. Their last mouthful, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go lie down. You know, no, I don't get like that. I'm having some salads, some greens. I do have green smoothies. I don't have the spinach anymore. Heck, did you see my post about Popeye? Popeye.
Oh, I mentioned Popeye in my book. He's got a lot to answer for. But I'm very proud to say that I've never had a McDonald's or a KFC or I've never eaten factory farm meat. So, you know, like you were saying, I go to this local farmers market in Lewis and I get my raw milk, and I get, you know, I buy quality meat from farmers who I know look after their animals. I'm not, factory farming has to go. And it will. I feel like we're coming full circle. It's gonna dissipate, and maybe the vegan movement is around to make us look at that, to make it's like the pendulum has swung to, it always swings to extremes, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And it's swung to,
and I really
to make us look at you know, our footprint, and there is a footprint. But there is an agenda also to us all become vegans, because the agenda is to not make us, they don't want us to be flourishing, and like you were saying, we need to keep our blood sugar balanced, and the more fat and the more quality protein we eat, the less we need to be putting food in our mouths every 2 hours. We shouldn't need to be constantly craving or constantly eating. And this is what I see with my clients, and I see when I follow the carnivore groups. There is a carnivore group and the paleo groups and the keto groups, and they're so satiated that they can go hours and hours without eating. And it's the same with me. I can go hours and hours without needing to think about food. It's all about satiation.
Absolutely.
So I can't always see the question that people.
Yes,
let's let
yeah, no worries. There's a couple of comments actually in the Zoom, and James has said this really resonates, as Carla stopped eating meat after 18 years. Was that 2 months ago, and she's feeling a lot better. And Carla, I know her personally, she was a vegetarian. And we've got Kim who says, what is the best thing for autistic children or adults that have a restrictive diet? I have a daughter that will only eat about 5 foods, all processed and beige, apart from baked beans and carrots. Can you help, I guess?
That classic picky eaters. It's like, you know, alarm bells ring. The minute we start to see picky eating happening, we don't just say, oh yes, they're that age, they're just picky eaters. We say that's a big alarm bell to say that the gut flora are out of whack. And it's the gut flora talking. It's the gut flora asking for the beige processed foods. And basically we have to starve them out. We have to starve out the bad gut bugs and then recolonize and culture and cultivate with ferments. So we need to make our own fermented dairy. It's very easy, it takes 5 minutes, you know, and have a little every day. We need to make our own sauerkraut, our own kvass, our own fermented drinks, beautiful. And then we feed the body the nourishing foods, the good fats, as Lucy was saying, the meats, in soups and stews. We make stock because that's super bioavailable, amino acids, collagen, gelatin, all of these wonderful, you know, both collagen and gelatin have been horribly demonized over the last years. The BSC foot and mouth thing, you know, or the mad cow thing made everyone go, gelatin, nobody eat cow gelatin. Gelatin's exactly what we all need. Collagen, they inject it into your lips to make you all pouty. It's like, ew, that's gross. I don't want collagen. It's been demonized, you know. We need to embrace these foods, get a stock pot on the go. See me at
But it's very interesting, isn't it, Emma, how a lot of stars, like, you know, the Friends stars, they never ate any fat. And so instead of eating fat, so they became very, very skinny, they had to inject fat into their faces because they weren't eating enough fat in their like, you know, and is that fat tested on animals, you know? But yeah, bone broth and meat broth is incredibly healing and very important. And you know, yogurt is what saved my life. Fermented milk, soured milk is what the tribes do. Because first we're breastfed, then we are fed. First we're fed in the womb, then we're breastfed, and the next food is alien food, okay, coming from an outside source. When you sour, ferment, soak, you're pre-digesting the food, which makes it more bioavailable and more absorbable, and you won't react to it so much. And this is what the tribes do. They would always sour their milk, and that increases the probiotic content. It makes the calcium more bioavailable, and it breaks down the milk sugars. So, for example, if I was to drink a glass of raw milk now, I would start sneezing, mucousy. I would react. But I can eat yogurt till the cows come home. So this is what, again, it goes back to our ancestors. This is what our ancestors did. They soured their milk. Yeah. And when this is what I do for breakfast now with all my clients. There's no grain involved in breakfast. There's no bread. There's no porridge. There's no oats. There's no gluten-free muesli. It's yogurt with fruit and berries. Yeah, the hunter-gatherer way. That's the way back, ideally, which is what the blood group O's, who are the original hunter-gatherers, have guided us back to eating like, to eat what we can hunt and gather. We were never meant to eat grain, and it shows when they look at the structure of our teeth and skeletons archaeologically, when blood group A started to grow grain, how our health started to regress. So I truly believe that we're meant to be hunter-gatherers and to go back to gathering again and to picking wild foods, which is what I do every autumn. I'm picking berries, I'm picking apples, I'm picking nettles, I'm picking wild garlic, I'm picking fennel. We need to get back to working with nature.
I like it. My grandma, talking about breakfast. Oh, sorry, Karen.
No. You carry on.
My grandma, bless her, Sylvia, would serve really high protein breakfast. So it'd be kippers and a poached egg, or deviled kidneys, or liver and onions and bacon, or you know, the full English, or kedgeree, which is flaked fish and boiled eggs, or boiled eggs. You know, and yes, there'd be a little bit of bread with it, because, you know, to have a nice bit of rye cracker with some liver pate on it. But it was always high protein, high fat breakfast to start the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fermented dairy is just so wonderful. I culture creams, so I make this thick cream. You can stand a spoon up in it. It makes the most amazing ice cream. You mix it in with raw eggs and a little bit of stewed fruit, maybe some raw honey to sweeten, and have ice cream for breakfast if you want. You know?
Yeah.
Can you talk, Emma, maybe a little bit more as to how you do that yourself? You know, just maybe to inspire some people to perhaps.
You mean how you ferment your own dairy?
Yeah.
You just need to get yourself a little yogurt maker. It's a little pot with a heated element in it. You can make it if you've got an area that stays 40 degrees for 24 hours, but ideally our dairy, when we do our GAPS ferments, it needs to be fermented for 24 hours, because that, as Lucy was saying, eats up all the lactose and gives you a massive probiotic hit. So a little yogurt maker, chuck in 2 little pots of cream. I get a live culture, which will be a big, thick, live Greek yogurt. If your starter culture is not live, this is not going to work. So you need to read the labels. Has it got a lactobacillus, a bifidobacterium, a thermophilus, a streptococcus thermophilus, whatever? Has it got live cultures in it? Big scoop of, with my whisk, scoop up the starter culture, whisk it into the 2 pots of cream, top it up with milk, turn it on, turn away. Turn it on, leave it, come back 24 hours later, cultured cream. Ta-da! You can have it hot, cold, have it on stew, have it on sweet stuff. Ideally, you want pasture raised, organic, raw. Ideally, you want raw to start with. But if you haven't, heck, do the best you can with the resources you have. Get an A+ for even trying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, I know the other method is kefir grains, isn't it? You can buy,
Kefir is the king of the ferments. Kefir is king, and it's powerful medicine. It's a piece of cake. You just get the grains. They're like little jelly cauliflowers. You pour some milk on top, leave it. It needs to breathe. Leave it 24 hours or 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever. Strain it off. You're good to go. The longer you leave it, the more sour it will be. But it's powerful medicine. So don't be.
The kefir you get in supermarkets is not.
No.
It's not that great. You want to get raw milk ideally, and the kefir grains. People want to start finding local farms and trying to find sources of raw milk, so that the enzymes have not been destroyed by heating. In this country, we seem to want to destroy everything. So honey becomes heated. Milk, cream, butter. If you go to France and you go to the markets, their butter is raw. They have bee pollen. They have raw honey. All these foods are the superfoods we've all been looking for. Yeah. Okay, raw honey is a superfood. Yeah. Nothing dangerous can survive in raw honey. It's the most incredible medicine. And so this is what's happening with me and a lot of my clients, is we're sourcing and finding places where we can get the raw cream, the raw milk, the raw honey, making our own sauerkraut. Sauerkraut was a game changer for me. Sauerkraut every day. And a naturopathic mantra is that when you start these things, you always start small and slowly increase. Otherwise, you might get a die-off and you might get a little war going on in your tummy. So you just start small and have a small amount of sauerkraut every day and slowly increase. And then you're starting to repopulate your gut and heal your gut microbiome.
Some of my clients are having to just literally start off with 1 drop of kefir. That's how powerful that medicine is. Some people are only able to take 1 or 2 drops of sauerkraut juice. Literally 1 or 2 drops if their gut flora is so knackered.
Yeah.
But it works. You just start low and slow, low doses and slowly build up.
Slowly increase.
Until you can chug a great big eggnog with a raw egg and kefir and honey. Oh, that's a great breakfast, that is, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And Lucy, I wonder if you could go into a bit more detail. You were speaking earlier, and I love your posts when you start talking about the pulls on us, you know, energetically from the equinoxes, the times of year. I think it's really important that people understand why we get sick at certain times and not others. And I think this is such a great explanation.
Okay, so basically we're 70% water. And we are, as I said earlier, we're not separate from nature. So we're affected by the universal energies. We're affected by moon cycles and equinoxes. So we're affected by the pull of the moon on our cells. So around a full moon, and everyone listening should get this and remember this and understand this, there is a pull on our cells to pull out, because it's the universe working for us to help detox us naturally. What it does is it pulls out any waste, because waste builds up in the cells. There's little factories in there that are building up proteins, breaking them down. This creates waste along with mucus. And what happens is that the pull of the moon pulls out this waste, which ends up in the lymphatic system. Now, the lymphatic system doesn't have its own natural pump. And what can happen is that if people are dehydrated, they're drinking alcohol, drinking coffee, eating trans fats and lots of rubbish, what will happen is that this waste will get stuck in the lymph, and then you get this achy feeling. And also we have too much sodium in our systems. We need we've got 4 electrolytes that need to be in balance, but because we spray our food with so much salt and it's in the wrong form, this builds up in the body, and this causes inflammation and pain. And this, along with mucus, gets stuck in the lymph, and then we get that achy feeling and we think we've caught something. This also happens around equinoxes, when we move from summer to winter. Again, you get that pull on the cells. It's like a tsunami of waste moving out of the cells into the lymph. And ideally, the body wants to get it out of you to the main elimination route, which is your bowels. Okay. Now, if you're hydrated, if you're sweating, if you're eating the right food, that waste will move through you. But if you're not, it will get stuck. Then you will get a symptom, and then you're told you've caught something. Yeah, and this is the difference between terrain theory and normal theory, conventional theory, which is that something outside of you, you've caused something. Yeah.
Germ theory.
Viral activity is high in an acidic cell. An acidic cell is a cell that's too full of sodium from a diet too high in sodium and from stress throughout your life. Okay. So at certain points of in the year, flu season is equinox time, and if there's a full moon right near the equinox, you're going to get a double whammy. You're going to get this pull on the cells. You're going to get these symptoms of all this waste coming out, stuck in the lymph, and then you feel achy and you feel coldy. The body will use the lungs and the nose to get out the mucus if your bowels and your main routes of elimination are not working. If you're hydrated, everything will start to flow out naturally. We also don't sweat. Sweating takes the load off the lymphatic system. Okay, we're not helping our bodies, we're just suppressing. So we feel uncomfortable, we feel ill, so we take a med, take a pill, and that pushes it all back in.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, this is where we are moving more towards the whole terrain theory, isn't it? You know, we've had germ theory shoved down our throats, that we're, you know, we're all, especially the last 2 years, that we're all running around contagious, you know, monsters, and you know, I think this is probably the biggest con, isn't it, in the health industry, or the health big pharma, really.
Well, the thing is, a virus is not even alive. A virus we were taught, because I was taught terrain theory over 20 years ago, I was taught about Béchamp. A virus is actually there to work. We were taught that the body is always working for you. The more toxic you are, the more the liver, the cells will create viruses in order to, they act like dustbins. They're absorbing all the toxins, like the aluminium, the lead, the mercury, the trans fats, everything that we're exposed to as modern humans. Sorry, it's getting dark here. I haven't got a light on. Put that on. And what happens is that the viral activity is high in an acidic cell. The cell reaches peak toxicity, and the virus will burst and flood out into the body. And then again, it appears like we've caught something. Now, bacteria is alive. Bacteria is completely different. But viruses are not even alive. They're actually called exosomes. And we've been fed such a lie about viruses, what a virus really, really is. And actually, viruses are there as a cleanup team. They're there to clean us up. So they're important. And this is why things like fevers are really important. Fevers should not be suppressed because they're part of a cleanup team to help our body deal with a high load of mucus. The body will create mucus to entrap toxins. So the more mucus you've got, the more toxicity you have. You work on a cleaner diet, the less mucus you will have. So it's
I like what you're saying about the cleaning team. Dr. Natasha asks us to have a bit of a paradigm shift about parasites generally.
Yes.
And think of them as helpers rather than something that's trying to kill you. So we've all got parasites all over the place, you know, in all our organs and all our tissues. They're all over the place because we are just universe.
Yeah.
Say again, I missed.
Well, Dr. Vonderplanitz did loads of research on dogs and cats. And he found that when cats and dogs were transitioning from a heated, cooked food diet, which they're not meant to eat, they're meant to eat raw, because all species on Earth are meant to eat raw food. As they transitioned to a raw food diet, the parasites disappeared. Parasites are there again as the cleanup team to eat the junk. So when you know, the idea of doing a parasite cleanse, it doesn't make sense. You just start to eat clean and then the parasites won't need to be there.
Right. And this is where there's this sort of crossover and where we get crossed wires, because there's all these people saying, eat a raw diet, eat a raw vegan diet, which is like super cleansing. And maybe that's possible to do for 40 days as a super cleanse. It's like fasting. But then there come a point where your body gets so cleansed it then needs nourishing. Remember, we're talking about toxicity and deficiency. So you've got rid of the toxicity. Now let's deal with the deficiency. But raw, not raw vegan though, really. We could be having raw steak, raw eggs, raw dairy. That's really the superfoods that have been hidden in plain sight during this time that we've been told.
That's where I've come from. That's where I've come from, Emma, because I've always believed in a raw food diet, but I believed wrongly that raw greens and raw fruit was the answer. Vonderplanitz took it to a whole new level because he realized that the tribes ate raw meat, or they would ferment their meat, raw fish, steak tartare, lovely. Raw milk, raw butter, raw honey, raw eggs. I make a delicious chocolate egg mousse with raw eggs, you know, that we're not meant to cook our food, because as soon as we cook our food, we denature it. So I believed that eating raw was all about greens and fruit, and that's what many raw food is.
Killed you. Yeah.
The raw food movement in its height in 2006 was all about, we've got to eat raw, and I highly believed in it, and I did. I lived on raw food, but I got ill.
Well, this is the thing, and the trouble is when somebody's gut microbiome is out of kilter really, really badly, when the mucosal membrane isn't really existent in their digestion because it's been scraped away by oxalates and bad stuff, and then pathogens have taken hold, and so you don't have a microbiome. You're not going to be able to digest your food properly. But those people can't handle raw food. They can't handle raw anything. They've got to have a stock.
And this is why bone broth comes in.
Well, there's a big difference between bone broth and meat stock.
Yes.
And we've had that discussion, haven't we? Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah, boil the bones, drink the bone, but that's very high in glutamate, which resembles monosodium glutamate, which then is a phytotoxin. And if you've got leaky gut and that's getting through into your system, you're going to be like, oh, you're going to be like wired on bone broth. Right. If you've got digestive issues of any description, if you've got any kind of autoimmune or inflammatory disease, really what you need first is meat stock, which is just a whole chicken in the pot cooked for an hour and a half. French cuisine style with a celery stick, carrot and onion, sea salt, maybe a bit of black pepper.
And this is the thing, isn't it? The French and the French are stuck to their traditions, haven't they? You know,
French really
and finding out that every plant doesn't want to be eaten either, that it has its own natural pesticide in the form of an anti-nutrient that will bind to minerals. So as you were saying, phytates, and then we've got the goitrogens, which deplete the body of iodine. We've got the deadly nightshades. We've got the lectins. We've got what else have we got? We've got all these plant pesticides that are not helping us to thrive. So the way it works is that you won't thrive, and then you won't keep going back to eat that plant. This is how it works. We were never meant to eat greens.
Such a shocking thing to say, Lucy. Never meant to eat greens, but I thought greens put colour in your cheeks. And what about Popeye? You know.
And can you be more specific as to, I know you mentioned the deadly nightshades, which is your peppers, tomatoes, that kind of thing. And I know you're saying greens, but aren't there some greens that are okay, some that aren't? You know, are there particular groups that we should not be eating or should be prepared?
Yes. So spinach, kale, cabbage, broccoli. Unless cabbage is fermented, cabbage is a goitrogen, which depletes the iodine. Okay, spinach has been hybridized, which means that it's been over cultivated to such an extent that it's lost its what we call kinetic energy. It's not a real food, it's a fake food. Okay, it's been over cultivated, so we're meant to eat wild foods. Okay, kale is the same, broccoli is the same. I used to live on broccoli. I used to think broccoli was amazing, but again, so for example, spinach contains oxalates. Oxalates bind to calcium. So I was living on lots and lots and lots of greens, raw greens, thinking because raw greens contain calcium, magnesium, B vitamins, iron, protein, amino acids, and I thought, oh, I'm getting everything I need from my raw greens. But what they don't tell you, and what Victoria Botenko, who wrote Green for Life, didn't mention, was the oxalates will bind to those minerals and stop you absorbing them.
And also the levels of calcium that they measure in the spinach, it's calcium oxalates. It's not bioavailable calcium. Yes, they say it's got so many milligrams of calcium. You go, oh, that's got a lot of calcium in it, but it's not bioavailable to you. It's a calcium oxalate, which is actually like shards of glass, which scratch your insides and burst your cells open if you're not careful. If you get overloaded. I mean, that sounds really extreme. I don't want people to like go, oh my God, really scared. But, you know, we just need to everything in moderation, and also eat seasonally. Eat seasonally. Grow your own, eat seasonally. I love broccoli, by the way.
So do I. Yeah.
And I also,
is it better if it's cooked? Does that help?
Well, I think
because vitamin C helps to break open the so for example, if you've got a kidney problem and you eat lots of spinach, you get kidney stones. But if you drink loads of vitamin, if you drink lemon juice, that will break down the kidney stones. Okay, so if you eat vitamin C with greens, that is supposed to help. Also, eating dairy is supposed to help.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Eating the dairy. Listen, if you're having a little bit of cooked spinach, if you cook the spinach, it's going to reduce the oxalates by 20 to 30%, right? If you're only having a small portion of them and you're having them with lots of butter and cultured cream and a steak, then, you know, it's fine. That's going to bind to some of the minerals in that meal and probably leave your body, no problems. But if you've got leaky gut and you are already experiencing lots of chronic symptoms, just don't bother with spinach right now. Don't bother with it. It's all in, everything in moderation. Eat seasonally. You know, don't get too freaked out by it.
If you do want to eat greens, then watercress would be better because it's grown wild. It's grown on in spring water normally, and it's not hybridized. So,
and rocket's pretty groovy. Rocket's good, and lettuce is fine, really. Bit of lettuce, bit of crunch, lovely.
But what I've done instead, because I feel like we need to have some vegetation in order to balance what we're eating. If we're eating a protein, we need to have some alkalinity in the diet. So I don't know if Emma might not agree with this, but I've always resonated with juicing. So I and this is what Wonderplanets did. He would have 2 or 3 green juices a day. So when you have the juice, I might be wrong about this, but I feel like I'm getting all the electrolytes I need. So the medical medium, who I don't resonate with, got everyone having celery juice. Yeah, now celery juice is rich in bioavailable sodium, the sodium that the body can recognize. Okay, but it's just full of sodium and potassium. Now, when you have green juice, you're adding greens to it and releasing the calcium, I think.
And the magnesium.
So the calcium and the magnesium.
The chlorophyll molecule is it's shaped like a hexagon with magnesium at the center, and then a lovely hexagonal shape with the nitrogen, the oxygen, the hydrogen. And when you look at it, next to heme, the hemoglobin, as in what makes red blood, they're almost identical, except the heme has iron at the center. So your greens are going to give you your magnesium to balance, you know, with your calcium. Yeah, we do juicing on gaps, definitely. Not at the beginning, not early days. When you're trying to heal the gut, you go in with stock, soup, stew, well cooked vegetables, plenty of good fats, and lots of meats and fishes and whatnot. And then you just slowly bring in egg yolks. That was very healing. Egg yolks need virtually no digestion whatsoever. Then we can make little meringues, and we can make little baked goods with maybe some coconut flour and all the cultured cream and all that jazz. And then we bring in juicing when enough healing has happened. We just start off with carrot, and then a little bit of carrot and apple. Then we add a little bit of fermented dairy to the juicing so that you get the fats with all of those electrolytes. But those raw juices, the water in them is live. It's easy water,
it's distilled water.
It's easy water. It's exclusion zone water. It's easily assimilated. It's already structured. It's already structured water. So your body doesn't have to work to restructure that water.
Yes.
And, you know, water's almost more important, isn't it, than the food, really?
Well, yeah, you know, you can live for a month without food, but you could only go for 3 days without water. So water is the most important thing to work on first, to hydrate the cells, because when the body senses we're dehydrated, the liver, in its intelligence, will start to create cholesterol to ply around the cell walls to stop us losing any water within the cells, because if we were to lose that water, we would die. So over a lifetime, as more and more stress causes the body to lose water is created, the liver will create more and more LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, to send to the cells, to coat the cells, and this compromises the absorption of the electrolytes and the release of waste. This is what we call in homeopathy the misplacement of calcium, and this is the root cause of dis-ease. It is the body chronically dehydrated. It all starts with stress from the environment, stress from your emotions, stress from a challenging diet, breaking natural laws. It's all back to the liver. The liver, which controls hydration, will create cholesterol to apply around the cell walls as a protective mechanism. But the great news is, once you start hydrating and getting your essential fats in, which create a new cell membrane, the cholesterol that's around the cell walls will go back to the liver to be recycled and removed from the body. This is why when you have a test to test cholesterol, it doesn't make any sense, because it's a little bit like a lorry that's traveling somewhere along the highway, going to a factory. What's in the lorry and where is the lorry going? And it's the same with the cholesterol. Is it the LDL cholesterol or is it the HDL cholesterol going back to the liver or going to the cells? You get a test, you're told you've got level 8, whatever that means, and then you're told you've got high cholesterol, and then you're given statins, which is a bit like putting soapy water in the petrol tank. It stops your body creating any cholesterol, and then you're on a downhill spiral of disease.
That was a beautiful description of what your take on disease is. I love that, Lucy. So how many, it's like I drank 8 pints of water the other day. I was counting. Yeah. No, but I mean, I needed it. I wanted it. I was a bit constipated. I had 3 in the morning before I had anything to eat. Then I had something to eat, and then I was like, I'm still thirsty. I needed 2 more. And then later on, I counted, I had 8. That's not a daily occurrence. I don't do that every day. And like today, I think I've only had about 2.5 pints of water, and I feel fine, I feel groovy. But
yeah, but the thing is, it's not just about water though. Hydration is not just about water. You can drink all the water in the world and not be hydrated. I've got clients who are drinking loads of water and it's going straight through them. You need the essential fats, the omega-3, the omega-6,
I eat
to create the membrane around the cell to let the water go into the cell. Then you can drink plenty of water while holding it. I've got people, friends of mine, who they'll come around visit and then they're constantly on the loo. They're drinking loads of the same amount of water as I am, and they're constantly on the loo because they're not holding it. They're not taking their essential fats. It's not going into the cell. So it's all to do with the combination of essential fats and water that quench and hydrate our cells. You can't have one without the other. So you can drink too much water.
Oh, yeah, I know you can flush out your minerals accidentally. I'm well aware of that. And I how many, so do you often, how often do you drink the same amount every day? Sometimes more, sometimes less? Have you got a set amount that you try to drink every day?
Well, again, we can't ever say, right, this is what you do every single day for the rest of your life, because it changes with the seasons. So in the summer, when you're sweating and exercising, and you're going to be drinking more. The minimum, we actually lose 8 glasses of water a day. So the minimum that we need to put back, and if we don't put that back, we're going to be overdrawn at the water bank, is 8 glasses. Okay, but that's the minimum. So we were taught the minimum is 8, the maximum is 10.
Okay.
But it depends how much you're sweating, if you're doing saunas. And again, if you're going off and doing saunas and you're not hydrated, you're going to lose more than you gain. And this is why in Nordic countries they're healthier, because they eat a lot of raw fish, which is rich in omega-3, which helps to hydrate and quench the cells. So they're more hydrated. So they have their saunas and they're detoxing all this waste out, and then they're healthier than us.
Yeah. I went to Iceland.
You'll have somebody who drinks loads of alcohol, goes and has a sauna, and then doesn't feel great. I
went to Iceland once, and they offered us a delicacy of it wasn't lutefisk, that's Minnesotan Norwegian. It was, I can't remember what they called it now, but it basically was fermented shark. And they took the shark and buried it under the shingle on the shore and left it there over winter, and then came and dug it up however months later. It was completely putrid, but it was a delicacy. And they also do roll mops and all sorts of fermented fish. We can ferment our own fish as well. We can get some lovely raw. We can get some nice.
I think that's going to be the next trend. The trend has been making bone broth and meat broth. I think the next trend is fermenting our fish.
Yeah. We could do it with whey from our homemade fermented yogurt and cream.
Yeah. But the thing is, in the UK, look, we're surrounded by the sea, you know, and yet fish is really expensive. Fish should be as cheap as chips, excuse the pun. You know, fish is a superfood, and then there's the Seaconspiracy documentary all about how fish is harmful, and yeah, you know, the agenda has been to poison the sea with mercury, which is a byproduct of the coal mining industry. So our sea has been poisoned. We've been poisoned, sea, land, air, everywhere we go. I don't know how we're all still alive.
It's a rock of our resilience, isn't it? That we are still actually fighting and kind of like, come on, we can do this.
Well, actually, Vonderplanets, who I absolutely adored, would talk about raw milk and fat, how fat binds to toxins more effectively than fiber does, and how, like, for example, I had a friend who worked in the lead making industry. They were told to drink a pint of milk after work in order to the fats in the milk to bind to the lead to remove them out the body. The more fat we eat, the more safer we're going to be. Fiber does not cut it. It's not enough. Fiber is not the internal brome, which I thought in my younger days. It's actually fat. And the more butter we eat, the more coconut fat, the more any fat that we eat will help us deal with preventing cancer and toxicity, which is another cause of dis-ease in the body.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Because it really is the polar opposite to what we're taught, you know, in the mainstream, that fat is the devil, basically, and we shouldn't be touching it. We've come round to about an hour now, ladies. Now, I just want to say thank you so much. This has been so enlightening. What I'd like people on both Facebook Live and in the Zoom chat, if you've got any questions for these ladies, please pop them in the text. I've got the Facebook Live on my phone, and I can see we've got some comments in the chat here. So I'm just going to run through those. But I would like to just allow you both, because I know, like Lucy said, you've got your book and you've got your website, which we'll also drop into the group so people have got that. And Emma, I know you've got your wonderful retreat going on in Normandy, which sadly I can't make it this time, but I really want to come the next one. So if you'd like to both talk about those and give everyone an opportunity to add some questions if they want to, and then we'll come back to that.
Sure. Shall I go first, Lucy?
Yeah.
So you can find me on all the usual platforms. I would like to be off Fastbook and whatnot. Facebook, Fastbook, Instagram, YouTube as Timeless Cookery. And that's also the name of the website. It's www.timelesscookery.com. And there's all the information on that website, and you know, follow me on Instagram for little tips of how to cook this quick or do that, or how to, you know, basically feed the family really nourishing food affordably, and how to wean the sugar monsters off the poison. Frankly, it's poison. Yeah, I've got online cookery school and a GAPS app. So there's a whole online package where you can learn how to do the cooking, and then I do one-to-one coaching. And I also do retreats in Normandy where you come for a week and I feed you. Yeah.
Emma, I would really, really like to work with you at some point. I would really like to do a retreat with you. I think it would be amazing.
Let's do it. That would be great. Let's talk.
So my website is www.naturalbornhealer.co.uk. I've got a book coming out called Natural Born Healer, which is my journey back to health. It talks about mind and body healing, hydration, electrolytes, techniques, things like enemas, colonics, Epsom salt bathing, etc. And then I've got a Facebook page, Lucy's Natural Born Healing. And I'm on Telegram, Natural Born Healer. So you should be able to find me on one of those platforms. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you're obviously both on Facebook, so people can obviously add you on there as well. And I will obviously add all your links after this. And I just wanted to touch on something myself, actually, because I find the way you talk to your cells really has a big impact. And I found that ever since I started getting symptoms of dis-ease, as soon as I started saying, oh, rather than saying, oh God, I feel I'm going to be ill, I'm sick, instead I'm saying, oh, thank you, I'm healing. This is my body healing. And I honestly believe that this energetic feedback is so important. And I find if I do have symptoms of a cold or something, they're gone within a few days. But I just wanted to add that because that's just kind of my little epiphany. But I'm just going to go have a look at the comments for you. And yes, so James has said, because I know James is an astrologer, he said definitely about the moon. It's gravitational pull of the tides and the oceans of the world, therefore pulls our bodies. That's where the words like lunatic came from, means moon mad. This is my dad, actually, who's commented here. He said, moving away from the gut to the circulatory system, I have had 2 strokes and 2 pulmonary embolisms. Is there any advice you can give for this?
Yeah. So the Italians have the healthiest hearts in the world. It's all to do with, again, fats and hydration, because the blood plasma is, there's a debate, but it's around 95% water. So the more dehydrated you are, the more the blood thickens. Now, water working with fish oils help the blood flow at the right consistency. Okay, so you need to hydrate by drinking plenty of water and taking deep sea fish oils, which you can get from, if you contact me and personally message me, I can give you a code. And in the fish oils will help the blood flow around the body, okay? And fish oils thin the blood. They stop the blood clotting. And the same with the water as well. They work together to stop the blood thickening. So hydration is the first step with any blood or heart issue. Okay, and having lots of olive oil. Olive oil contains oleic acid, which breaks down cholesterol, reducing stress on the liver as much as possible, eating the diets that me and Emma have recommended, throwing away your sunflower oil and your margarine. Butter is better than margarine. It's actually alive. Well, not alive. I mean, if you were to put butter and margarine outside, the ants would not go anywhere near the margarine. They'd be all over the butter. The wildlife knows. So you want to get the fish oils in and make sure you're very hydrated, and then that will help everything. And also to cut down on salt as much as possible.
So on the front of Dr. Natasha's book about Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, which is all about heart disease, it says angina, heart attack, high blood pressure, stroke, arrhythmia, peripheral vascular disease, and atherosclerosis. That's what she covers in this book. And it's basically saying, get rid of the processed carbs, get rid of the refined sugar, get rid of the refined vegetable oil, and work with the stock pot and have the red meats and have the fats, but just lose the sugars. That doesn't mean to say you can't have a sweet thing. You can. You could have a cheesecake, maybe made with some nicely prepared nuts, with a little bit of honey, with a nice big thick creamy topping, with a little bit of berries sweetened with honey. Why not? You can still have sweet stuff. You've got to have the right kind of sugars and the right kind of fats, and your heart disease should go away all by itself.
That's fantastic. Thank you, ladies. And Sarah just wanted to say thank you so much, ladies. This is such an amazing talk. Really appreciate all the knowledge. And on Facebook, we've got a couple of questions. Can you speak a bit more about structured water? Is spring water not structured, or is it? I don't know if this is your area at all, structured water, or if you know anything.
Dr. Gerald Pollack, I think his name is, has studied water. Now, water is such an anathema. It's just such a weird thing. Nobody really know how it works. What's the story? It's like H2O. It's two gases that stick together to make a liquid. What? And we're made of gases? What's going on? But Gerald Pollack talks about easy water, which is structured water, which is water that has an electrical charge that's in the right I can't really speak to, but you want to go and watch him because it's just mind-blowing. But the water, when it has been structured by us, we can structure it so then it looks a bit like a honeycomb. It excludes baddies, so it's called exclusion zone water, and it's to do with electrical charge and ions and things as well. It's electrical. It's an electrical thing. Really,
well, if you look at the if you watch the Asians, when they're pouring tea, they're pouring it from a height.
yes.
And the same with the Mayans, when they poured cacao, drinking chocolate, they would pour from a height. I was taught by my teacher that when I had a water bottle to drop it, because otherwise the water's dead. Water from, like Emma's saying, water from rainwater and waterfalls it's called the full state. Is it the full state of water, or structured water?
Fourth state of water, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing about water, the reason it's become so complicated is that, so for example, you would think that spring water would be the ideal water to drink, but the trouble with spring water is it's full of inorganic minerals. So for example, I can't eat chalk to get calcium. I can't eat the soil to get my iron. Yeah. Plants take up the minerals from the soil. We eat the plants, or the animals eat the plants and we eat the animals. We can't get minerals from the water because they're rocks. They're broken down rocks. They're not bioavailable. And this is why there's such a trend to drink distilled water. Distilled water is empty of any inorganic minerals, but homemade distilled water is dead water. So what do we drink? It's a minefield, and I'm writing about it in my book. So there's lots and lots of detail in there about the ideal water I believe that we need to drink, but you're going to have to buy my book for that.
And what's the book going to be called, Lucy?
Natural Born Healer.
Natural Born Healer. Lovely. Okay. And let's see, what else we got?
Look up vortexing. If you know, look up vortexing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask, what would you say is the single most important dietary change you recommend to everyone right now?
Avoid the grains like the plague. I mean, the French,
wheat.
Yeah, wheat specifically. The French are by law obliged to ferment their French bread dough for 72 hours. And that takes down the lectin count to something that's the body can cope with. But until we start preparing things properly, growing things cleanly, preparing things properly, and fermenting them long enough, whatnot, it's not worth eating them. And they're smothered with pesticides and herbicides, and we're getting microdosed with glyphosate with every mouthful. If you want to be microdosed with pesticides and herbicides, you go for it. Personally, I would like to have my mind clear enough to be able to steer my brain to choose where I'm giving my attention to create the new world we're all going to live in. We're living in. Not get poisoned with every mouthful. Yeah, the lectins also cause amyloid plaques, which fill your brain up with plaque that then is going to be causing Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. But it's just not worth it. It's dangerous.
Well, this is the trend with sourdough, because this is what our ancestors would do when they had a grain, they would soak it for 4 days, ferment it, and then sour it. And I've noticed this with clients. They would tell me that they're intolerant to wheat, but then they would go to France and then they would eat wheat and they would feel all right, because they've stuck to their traditions in France, where they've allowed the dough to be naturally soured, which breaks down the gluten, breaks down the phytates. Yeah. So it doesn't get rid of the gluten completely, or it doesn't get rid of the phytates completely, but it reduces it. So people come away feeling much healthier. And this is where the trend with sourdough bread is. Everyone's having sourdough now. That's a good sign. But we need to go one step further, where when humanity was forced to grow grain, such as the American Indians, who were natural hunter-gatherers, again, this is what I'm discussing in my book, they were forced to grow corn. They were forced off the land with all this amazing free food to grow back-breaking grain, okay? But they learnt, and other cultures learnt, to soak, ferment, sour. We've got to get back, if we want to carry on eating this stuff, we've got to get back to working with grain the way our ancestors did. And then that takes the stress of
that's not going to happen in an industrial process.
You've pre-digested it, so it's taking the stress off your gut. Okay, so if you're gonna still want to eat wheat, which I don't suggest, because as Emma says, they spray glyphosates all over it. But if you're gonna eat wheat or gluten, have spelt, but make sure it's soured. Or you soak your grains, you pre-digest them, you soak your rice, so that you're getting rid of the anti-nutrients. And we've got to learn and remember what our ancestors did with food.
Interesting. I just saw somebody in the chat just said, what about organic brown bread? And interestingly, phytates and lectins live in bran and wheat germ. They live in the bran. So the brown bread is actually worse for you than the white sourdough or the white rice. Brown
well, I was a hippie
than the white rice.
I was a hippie living in Somerset in the 80s, eating loads of muesli, eating loads of wholemeal bread. My stomach was completely bloated, thinking that wholemeal, that whole grain was the superfood. The French have stuck to their traditions. They have the white baguette. The white baguette is lower, the white flour is lower in phytates. So they've, and I used to go to retreats, you know, like Buddha retreats, and they'd be giving out all this white rice, and I think they should be having wholemeal rice. Surely wholemeal rice is better. You know, I'm a nutritionist. Wholemeal rice is the way to go. But actually, they've learnt, and the Asians have learnt, that the white rice is actually better than brown rice because it's less phytates
and lectins, and so less chance of getting amyloid plaques and you know, ending up with Alzheimer's. So, and oh, I lost my thread. I was going to say about the white rice. Yeah, that blew me away when I found that out about the white rice.
I know.
What?
We were doing it all wrong.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. And we've got a comment here saying this will explain why as wheat gluten intolerant, I am able to eat French bread when I go on holiday and I don't suffer. Yeah. Also eat Greek yogurt every day with fruits every day and feel so much better when on holiday. Lovely. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, we've got a couple more in Facebook. Any tips on reducing tumours? Cancer, I presume.
I can't really.
Where are the tumours? Where are the tumours?
I don't know. All she said is, Annette, if you're still on live, where are the tumours? We'll come back. We'll swing back.
No, I can answer that.
You can.
Okay. I would suggest she looks up Gerson. Gerson was a doctor in the 1930s who was able to treat cancer patients and had a 70% success rate by juicing and coffee enemas. So I'm a big fan of coffee enemas, which help to clear the body of toxicity in a very, very quick and efficient way. And juicing floods the body with electrolytes and pushes out the toxicity. But it has to be managed, because you can do loads and loads and loads of juicing, but where's all that waste going to go? It's going to go back to the liver, which is your filter. A coffee enema will then clear the liver, and then you pour more juice in. And this is the way, a bit like a plumber would get underneath the sink to clear the blocked pipes. It's the same with the human body. We need to do things like techniques, sweating, castor oil packing, coffee enemas, which clean our filters, our inner piping, so to speak. So I talk a lot about that in my book, about how coffee enemas is so important. You can also use castor oil packing. I don't know if anyone's heard of castor oil packing. Castor oil was used or discovered as what it does is it softens leather. But when you put castor oil on a tumor and cover it with lamb's wool and a hot water bottle and leave it for an hour, that oil will break down the tumor, break down the cyst, break down a fibroid, break down scar tissue, which will then go back to the liver. Then you do a coffee enema to release the liver. This is how you heal cancer.
Wow. Yeah, Annette did say it's in her bladder, or it's a bladder. Sorry, I don't know if it's her or not, but it's a bladder tumor. So I don't know if that makes any difference.
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of work to do. She maybe needs to contact me if she wants some more advice on that, because that's a deep picture. What I call a deep picture. I'm not going to say, oh, go away and do this. I would need to see what else is going on. Yeah. And also it's about looking at your emotional wounding, because it's not just about what's going on physically, it's also about emotional, how the emotions affect the body on a deep cellular level, and how the water element, which is kidneys and bladder, is connected to the emotion fear. Every organ in the body is connected to emotion, and it's about looking at probably childhood trauma to clear that.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Lucy. Let's see. Asking for links, so we'll add those afterwards. Just a comment here saying they want you to eat genetically modified food. We are animals, and most animals eat animals. You should check out the cruelty in growing veg, pesticides, loss of precious insects, and animals losing their habitats, getting killed in farming machinery. Eating vegan is the cruelest thing you can do. More animals get killed in veganism than eating meat. I may add that you can buy meat from a reputable butcher, not from a factory farm meat in a supermarket. Yes, thank you for that, Joe. That's very useful. And also we've got over here, James is using Gerson diet coffee enemas. It's Wilson's organic coffee and a Rife frequency machine. And he managed to shrink a brain tumor. Fantastic.
Brilliant. Well done. Yeah.
Kim says, thank you, ladies. This is eye-opening. I did know that our guts control a lot, and stress is a big factor, in how our gut behaves and reacts. I knew about humans not meant to be eating wheat, and going back to our ancestral diets is the way forward. It's hard to know where to start in this modern world, and I'm sure these two ladies can help you there, Kim. And apparently the Joanna Budwig diet in there. Oh, this is about the coffee enemas again as well, I think. So,
and interestingly, he points out there that they've been around since the 1930s. And this is what is so interesting. All of this information has been out there for 100 years. What the hell? And then we suddenly get sold up the Swanee with all of that industrial crap. But we've known all this time. We need to get back to what your great grandmother used to do. Get back on it. Before the age of the fridge, we used to preserve foods by fermentation. And that's what we need to get back to. If you want to learn how,
we all need to get a pantry.
See me at Timeless Cookery and get some ferments on the go.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic, enlightening. It's been an amazing conversation, ladies. I just want to say a big heartfelt thank you for sharing your wisdom. Again, if anybody just connect with Emma and Lucy on Facebook. I'll get them to send me their links, and I will pop them in after this chat. So you'll be able to contact them directly, find out more about them, find out how you can get more.
Can I just say that not to just friend me, because I get hundreds of friends, just to message me, it'd be easier if I can friend you, because I just get hundreds of requests.
Yeah, I feel you there.
And Annette, message me. Yeah.
Annette is Annette Sansom, and that was the lady with the tumour question. She said, thank you. Yes, she really resonates with you, and she will contact you. So look out for Annette.
Okay.
This is fantastic. It would be absolutely amazing to be able to get all this information that you've spoken about. Thank you so much for all this gold. Colin, obviously go to these ladies' websites and connect with them there. So, we're here. This is what I thought we would do, about an hour's chat, half an hour question answer, and it's 8:30. So this is perfect time to wrap up. And it's been an absolute pleasure, ladies. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen. It's been amazing. Thank you.
I really enjoyed myself. Thanks ever so much. I love you guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Emma. It's been brilliant. Really interesting. We'll have to meet soon, because you're only up the road.
Yeah, let's do it in person. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Thanks.
all right.
Karen.
Lovely. I'm going to end this Zoom call now. So the Facebook Live will end as well. There will be a recording. Obviously, the Facebook Live will remain in the group. And if you guys want to share the recording afterwards, yeah, you're more than welcome to. I'll send you a link with it on.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks so much. Lots of love.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.